When I saw this spinning wheel on Facebook Marketplace, I immediately knew that this wheel had been made by a master woodworker, a master of the craft. How did I know that just by glancing at the picture? You can spot this master craftsman if you've ever tried to cut a pizza into 13 slices, because this spinning wheel has 13 spokes. That's no easy feat. That is some mathiness. Sure enough, as soon as I could take a peek under her table, I was able to confirm that this is indeed a Country Craftsman made by J. Rooney. Hello, fiber friends. I'm Evie. I got another spinning wheel. This is the JillianEve channel where we spin things. And also today's video is sponsored by Proven. So more about them in just a little bit. But I think first we need to take a look at this historic 13-spoke Country Craftsman. This spinning wheel has led me on a deep dive into spinning wheel makers and the history of the colonial American flax wheel. She has some beautiful lines, and I've spun a little bit with her, and I can tell you that she is like a race car that absolutely hugs the curves. She is meant to go fast. This spinning wheel looks very much like an antique wheel that you might find in grandmother's attic or at an antique shop where the leather bits are rotten, the metal is all rusted, and the wood is absolutely dry and crumbling. But you might be surprised to know this is actually a vintage spinning wheel. This spinning wheel was probably made in the late 1970s or early 1980s. We're about the same age. This spinning wheel, though, is not made with modern parts. This spinning wheel does not have screws or bolts or anything like that. She has very few metal parts, only where they're absolutely necessary. The tension screw is made of wood. All of her parts and pieces are held together with wooden pegs, or they're tapered so they fit through tension. She's really a beautiful piece of craftsmanship. There's a reason why she looks like an antique, though, and that has to do with where the maker for this wheel, J. Rooney, got his inspiration. Jerome Rooney was born in 1924. He grew up in Wilmington, Massachusetts, and during World War II, he served in the Army Air Corps. He was a very talented artist, and he began his career lettering vehicles as well as furniture. Eventually, he owned his own business. It was called The Country Craftsman. He specialized in early American furniture and spinning wheels. But interestingly, the first spinning wheels that he made purely to be decorations. When Rooney discovered that people were still using spinning wheels and that they still wanted them to actually work and function so they could spin with them, he visited the Museum of American Textile History in North Andover, Massachusetts. The curator at that time let Rooney have access to their large collection of spinning wheels. A lot of them were in storage, and there was one particular wheel, so the legend goes. It was a 1700s Saxony flax wheel. He took all of the measurements and looked at the design work and got the inspiration for the Country Craftsman spinning wheel. It was the replica of a 1700s flax wheel from colonial America. Rooney retired in 1982. The Country Craftsman was run by Joseph Franzik and his wife Cindy until 2003, when they retired. In addition to spinning wheels, Rooney, as a master furniture maker, was also known for his handmade Windsor chairs. In his later years, he turned attention to restoring antique furniture and centuries-old steam pumper fire engines. He absolutely sounds like a fiber friend. Someone who is artistic and creative and loves to understand machinery, see how things work, and create with his hands. I wish that I could have had an opportunity to meet him and tell him that I'm really enjoying this beautiful, beautiful spinning wheel. this wheel is designed to spin in a counterclockwise direction. So this whirl is still gonna follow the righty-tighty, lefty-loosey threading, but bear in mind that a lot of these antiques are going to go righty-loosey, lefty-tighty. They will be reverse threaded. Be careful, make sure you're going with the threads. If they're really stuck, put a little drip of oil on there, give it some time, come back, try again very gently, and that might be a way to work it off very slowly. There's some little marks on here that almost look like teeth marks. What do you think? Other than a couple dings, the original bobbin is in pretty good shape. I've certainly seen worse, and here the flyer is in excellent condition. No cracks, nothing looks weak or brittle. She's in great shape. In order for a wheel like this to work, it has to have a tension system. It has to have a way to move this mother of all back and forth, closer and further from the drive wheel, so that you can increase or decrease tension on the drive band. This spinning wheel has a wooden screw, just like the old antiques do. It's just in such good condition. Such good condition. Now we can remove the mother of all. And see, that's the part where the screw goes through. Can you see the wooden threads in there? Amazing. Just amazing. Here's an example of some of the little pegs holding it together. These are not screwed in. There's no bolt. There's no screw on the bottom here. It's just a little peg. Once I learned that Rooney had gotten the specs and all of the information for this spinning wheel from an antique from the 1700s out of a museum in Boston, it really made me realize that this absolutely has his maker's touch on it, but this is a replica. And I started looking around at some references and pictures of other very old New England spinning wheels, and I couldn't find a single one that had 13 spokes. And it really made me wonder, why 13 spokes? I have a theory. This is not confirmed. This is my very own theory, just with me sort of deep diving and obsessing and rabbit holing about this for a little bit. But I wonder, when Rooney made this spinning wheel, it was the late 1970s. He was figuring out, oh, people still actually do spin. It's not just for a decoration. What was going on in the United States at that time? Well, it was the bicentennial. I really wonder if he put 13 spokes on this wheel to represent the 13 colonies. 13 spokes does not happen by an accident. What do you think? Do you think he was showing off his woodworking skills? Do you think it was something that maybe a spinner wanted and he thought was cool? Maybe 13 was somebody's lucky number? Or do you think that this was connecting back to the history of where this wheel was inspired from? I don't know. What do you think? Who was making all of these spinning wheels during the 18th and early 19th centuries? I found some answers in American Spinning Wheels by D. Pennington and M. Taylor. In this book, they talk about how there is a documented case of a spinning wheel maker named Jeremiah Pike who lived in Framingham, Massachusetts in the 1680s. He employed 5 or 6 other men in his operation. It was an operation that carried on for 4 more generations, nearly 100 years of spinning wheel makers. The Shakers were also known to have made thousands of wool and flax wheels for sale to the public, which indicates that spinning wheels were made in workshops. This really does make sense to me because there are so many specialized parts on a spinning wheel, but also we have to keep in mind that these are machines meant to manufacture, and the gears, the ratios, all of that requires very specialized knowledge to have a well-functioning spinning wheel. Before, after. Do you see a difference? Before, after. Oh, she glows. She's so pretty. Do you know what can dry out and crack? Antique spinning wheels and me. The The sponsor of today's video is Proven Skincare. I was so excited when they reached out to do a sponsorship with me. I have been using Proven for a little while now. When I started using Proven Skincare, I went to their website and I took their online skin genome quiz. Some of the things I wanted to address about my skin were fine lines and wrinkles, they happen, and dryness. My skin gets so dry, and growing up I always had very oily skin, so I didn't even know where to start with lotions or creams or any of that. It was all very confusing. So Proven has simplified all of that for me, and I am very excited to tell you about this 3-step skincare system that is customized to me and could be customized to you. When my Proven skincare system showed up, it had all of this wonderful information and the things I had selected as skincare needs that I was interested in addressing. They sent me a 3-part system. Simple, I love it. There's a cleanser, a day cream, and a night cream. The cleanser is a little bit exfoliating. I really like that. It feels great on my skin. And it has a card with that shows all of the ingredients that they put into each thing. And it's called Proven because they only use scientifically proven ingredients. I love that my personalized cleanser is a cleanser, toner, and exfoliator in one. That's a bunch of stuff that's extra that I don't need to get. Then there's the day moisturizer, which has SPF in it, which is very good because I am often in the sun more than I realize. But my favorite one of the whole system is the night cream. Its benefits include soothing, anti-inflammation, and renewing. And I felt the effects from this probably by day 3, which seems really fast, but my face just felt so much smoother. My skin was moisturized and it felt so much softer, and it was just really nice to finally have a simple system that I could keep in a routine, use, done, not have to worry about. Proven's best deal of the year is here. Get your first 3-step system for $99 plus 3 free gifts: a spa headband, toiletry bag, and lip balm using my code JillianEve. There's never been a better time to upgrade and personalize your skincare routine. Get this deal now through November 26th. Thank you so much to Proven for sponsoring this video. And now that we have taken care of my dry skin, let's go take care of a dry spinning wheel. People often call these Saxony wheels, but if you look at the literature that was written at the time of the late 1700s in the United States, they don't refer to these as Saxony wheels. They are referred to a lot of times as treadle wheels, also Dutch wheels, particularly the ones that were made by Dutch makers that had very thick, heavy rims, and sometimes also Irish wheels, and they were also called line wheels for spinning line flax. Does that mean no one spun wool on these? I don't know, but we do for sure know that there was a wheel called a wool wheel, and that one's behind me right there. You can see the difference. And this is a large drive wheel for a flax wheel. And this is a small wheel for a great wheel or a wool wheel. And you can still see that one is different than the other. They are not the same size. And so I do have to think that if people were being intentional enough to have specific equipment named after the thing it was doing, I have to think that people probably were just spinning wool with a wool wheel and flax with a flax wheel. So while this wax settles into the wood, I am gonna go and prepare some flax to do a little spinning with my Country Craftsman flax wheel. But alas, there is something that a flax wheel needs to have to spin line flax, and that is a distaff. And this wheel did not come with a distaff. And she only came with one bobbin, which I say you can never have too many bobbins. So what's a girl to do when her new best spinning wheel pal has no distaff and only one bobbin? I reached out to Bobbin Boy. They are a great resource to go to if you have a country craftsman, if you need parts, if you need something fixed, replicated, or whatever. And I got 6 beautiful new bobbins made, half in cherry and half in walnut, and I got a beautiful new cherry distaff made for this spinning wheel, and it exactly matches the original as it would have been made by Rooney, except for one thing. Now it's also able to become a cage distaff. There are examples of cage distaffs in Europe as well as in the United States. In that time period, cage distaffs often were just branches. There's one in a museum I found a picture, a reference to, that it's just branches that were held together with twine to make them come up into a cage. I have very fancy reeds that now sit very well into this distaff, so I'm gonna pop those in and we're gonna get some flax ready to spin. The image of a New England woman spinning flax by the fireside of her colonial farmhouse is quite the picturesque image that still persists to this day. But is it a myth? And if not, what happened to all the linen? As settlers from Europe brought their familiar textile traditions with them to North America, wool and linen thrived in the climate of New England. According to household inventories from the time, 2/3 to half of households had spinning wheels, and in some places, half of the households with a spinning wheel also had a loom. As it takes many more spinners to supply one weaver, this ratio clearly indicates that households were doing their own weaving for home use. At the same time that women were incorporating weaving into their household duties, woodcraft work became a dominant male occupation. Not only were these woodworkers making furniture, among other things, they were also making spinning wheels, looms, and other textile equipment for market sales. These spinning wheels tell the story of their spinners as well as their makers. Laurel Thatcher Ulrich, author of The Age of Homespun, writes, "Perhaps someday the scholars who have taught us so much about the development of furniture trades in colonial New Hampshire will turn their attention to anonymous spinning wheels. No one knows who made them, but they do have a story. It is a story about conquest as well as settlement, about imperial objectives, and about the distribution of work in colonial households. These old spinning wheels not only symbolize women's household labor, but the shaping of male identity in market production." As for all the flax that was being hand-spun on these spinning wheels, it wouldn't last. In the early 1790s, an industrial saboteur named Samuel Slater broke the British law forbidding engineers with knowledge of the new textile machinery to emigrate, and arrived in the US with working plans for a drawing frame stitched into the lining of a coat pocket. In 1793, Slater opened the first industrial cotton spinning mill in America. The same year, Eli Whitney invented the cotton gin. Linen was out, cotton was in, and it was big money. The days of homespun American linen had come to an end. A historian, Sylvester Judd, wrote in 1863 that the flax dresser with the sheaves, fibers, and dirt of flax covering his garments and his face begrimed with dust has disappeared. The noise of his brake and swinging knife has ended, and the boys no longer make bonfires of his swiggling toe. The sound of the spinning wheel, the song of the spinster, and the snapping of the clock reel have all ceased. Sometimes I wonder what has drawn me to be so fascinated with, for all practical purposes, such an obsolete craft. For all the romanticizing about spinning, it was hard work, long hours, and it was often an underpaid or unpaid labor. But I suppose if you're still watching, there's something about the spinning wheel that has enchanted you as well. The American Textile History Museum, where Rooney studied the 18th century spinning wheels that inspired his country craftsmen, closed in 2016, stating that they were no longer able to fiscally operate. We will never know which spinning wheel inspired the country craftsman or who its maker was all those years ago. But what a gift Rooney has given us in the legacy of his country craftsmen. All of us in the spinning community are keeping this piece of pre-industrial textile history alive through the spinning of our wheels and the turning of lathes. I'm so thrilled to have the experience of spinning with this beautiful and historic spinning wheel, my 13-spoke Country Craftsman.